So with the presidential election coming up, and I've talked about this many times over the year, is to do with Irish neutrality. Now, every Irish citizen, pretty much every Irish citizen, I never really have met anybody in my life that has been against Irish neutrality, who gets out and been involved in any war, and gets been involved in the military alliance, say for example, or on any country side. We have no allegiance to any country, only ourselves. And that's the way it should be. That's the whole foundation of our country. We're so neither king nor Kaiser. They were saying in the First World War during the Rising, etc., etc., the citizen army, etc. And it's always true and the same, but nowadays, but we're for peace. We're for peace. We're a peaceful country. We've never took over anybody else's country. We only have our island. We want people to live in peace. We want other countries to live in peace. We see that through our peacekeeping in the last 60 years. We've done great work in peacekeeping. And neutrality, and this is the main point of this, neutrality alone does not protect you. We see in the Second World War 80 years ago, Adolf Hitler invaded Denmark, Norway, and the Netherlands too. They were neutral countries. It didn't stop the war machine going and invading them. And then we take, for example, the Soviet Union invaded Finland. It didn't go well for them, but they invaded during the Winter War. And Finland was a neutral country in the 1930s, 1939, declared neutrality, etc., etc. But this didn't stop the Soviet Union going in. It's pretty much what I'm trying to say now. It doesn't stop anybody who wants to attack Ireland from doing that, because we're on our own pretty much, and we have to realise that too, because we can't rely on other countries to come and fight our battles. God forbid if we were attacked, but not likely. The chances are very, very unlikely. It's more cyber attacks and it's more undersea espionage, stuff like that. It's not really an invasion. But still, nonetheless, we have an army that's in an awful state. It has never been in a worse state than it is now. Just to say, even through the Irish Free State, where the Ireland was a free state in the 1920s and the 1930s, when the country literally had none. Like, I literally had no money whatsoever. But we were able to still keep a big standing army, which was a credit back then that we were able to do that. But nowadays, we have the money. It's not the fact of the matter there's no money. There's loads of money. The money's just been spent stupidly on stuff that's not necessary to the Irish state, like bicycle sheds and stuff. We're not getting into all that. But the Defence Forces and Catherine Conlon, the presidential debate, just going back to that, didn't believe a few years ago that we should have a standing army. And I've said this many, many times, that it's important for any country to have an army. It defends your sovereignty, and they know that everybody hate, the politicians and all, and hate the word sovereignty. And the whole idea of the Irish state at the moment, they hate the identity of the Irish state. They hate the whole foundations that this country is built on in terms of our sovereignty. They hate the word Irish sovereignty. They hate the Irish flag. They hate everything. So they wanted NATO to come and take over, to go, patrol our waters, etc., etc. And we don't want that. Irish citizens don't want that. I pay my taxes for an Irish Navy to be out on the high seas. And for an Irish Air Force. We should have an Irish Air Force. We shouldn't rely on the Royal Air Force to come over here and to police our skies. We should have our own fighter jets. We should be able to defend ourselves. That's important that the woman behind me said just a few months ago in January in Ireland, that we should be able to defend ourselves, and we should be. And we should try our best to defend ourselves. We are a small country, but we can do so much if we put our minds to it, and if we put effort into it, and not basically want NATO to come and help us and to do everything for us. But it's good we can do it ourselves. And that is the majority of the Irish fleet. It's pretty much in port. And yes, Ireland has a very bad reputation for drugs at the moment, in terms of then human trafficking too. It's all coming in by ships, from other ships through smaller ships onto the Irish coast. And we have to do everything possible to stop this. And how we do that, first of all, we pay our sailors and people that's in the naval service a proper wage. We have to give them a proper wage. What we're paying them at the moment is peanuts. We're pretty much giving them peanuts. We expect them to go out, and this is not easy jobs, being on ships and on the high seas, etc., etc., and work long hours, and we're giving them peanuts. And these politicians get huge salaries. It doesn't make any sense, because they have lives, they have families, etc. So we need to sort that out. We need to get as many ships as possible on the high seas. We need to get as many sailors as possible. The Irish Army at the moment, including the Irish Navy, the Irish Air Corps, is only about 11,000 people at the moment, which sounds a lot, but for Ireland it should be 20,000 to be totally honest, because every other country really in Europe has a standing army of about 20,000, depending on the size, of course. But Norway and Denmark, etc., etc., countries really the same population as us, has it's that roughly around that. And obviously with service now, and it's terrible in terms of only 2,000 or so active reservists. We need to sort that out too. And of course, as I said about the Air Corps, we need to get fighter jets, and we need to do it now. It's a lot of money. It's a huge amount. We're talking about billions on fighter jets, but it's necessary because I don't think we should be freeloading, and that's the word we are, freeloading of the Royal Air Force. And really, in the way, we can't declare ourselves neutral if we're relying on a NATO country to come over to defend us from the skies. It's unforgivable, that kind of thing was even allowed to happen. It should never have been signed, first of all, that the Irish government went begging to the British government to come and defend us, like defend our skies if we were under attack, or if there was an enemy aircraft or whatever may happen. But I do think that we need to take our defence seriously. First of all, we need to give as much as possible to those of the defence force. Would you believe Ireland's defence spend is the lowest in Europe? It's only €1 billion. It sounds a lot, but it really should be 3 or 4 billion, because it's that neglect that over the last few years. It's in a terrible state. It takes so much money to get it up to speed. Thankfully we're now getting radar and stuff like that. We imagine we never had any radar. We didn't know what was above our skies. But there's no point having radar when you have nothing to shoot it down. If something's there that shouldn't be there, we have nothing to shoot it down with. So there's no point having radar and saying, "Oh, that's there," when you can't shoot it down. But we need to defend ourselves, and I do think, and this is the point, and a lot of Irish citizens don't get, that neutrality alone won't really protect us. It's about investing in ourselves. And what I mean by that is investing in our soldiers and our men and women, Irish men and women, of course, not any other country's men and women, but Irish men and women, that they can protect the country. And that's we can defend ourselves if we invest in ourselves. That's the way I see it. Instead of investing in the European Union, European army, etc., etc. We never accept that. Irish people never accept a European army. But yeah, I just want to say that neutrality alone it's not like it's just a cloud that we can wave and people go away and not ignore us, take it up. That doesn't work, sadly. But it's about having the deterrent, having means to defend yourself. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more. And what do you take? If only in all my life I've only met 2 people that pretty much has been been for Ireland joining NATO. Which is insane. But again, these people, the same people, wouldn't want to go and fight if the call was out. They'd be the last people to go. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more and bye.